In Siberia, the cold grows so brutal that exposed flesh freezes solid within minutes outside. Nothing survives here without protection from wind, darkness, and relentless Siberian winter storms surrounding everything. This ancient wooden longhouse shields human life against the merciless frozen Siberian wilderness outside tonight. Inside stands the leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, protecting his people through wisdom and endurance. Everything depends on wood, fire, and knowledge passed through generations surviving Siberian winter darkness together. The storm outside tries constantly to tear apart the tribe's only protection from extinction tonight. Every log placed here represents survival decisions made long before anyone alive was born today. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, listens carefully to wind threatening everything his tribe protects inside. He has survived more winters than anyone else still alive inside this wooden sanctuary today. Without this structure, their bodies would freeze before sunrise, even reached the frozen forest outside. But this shelter is more than wood. It is engineered survival perfected through centuries here. Tonight, the leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, must ensure it continues protecting everyone until morning. Long before modern technology, survival here depended entirely on mastering shelter against Siberia's deadly cold. Ancestors learned quickly that small shelters failed against relentless wind and freezing air infiltration everywhere. Only massive wooden longhouses could trap enough heat to sustain human life through winter storms. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, learned these lessons from elders before him decades earlier. Every design element exists for one purpose: preventing deadly heat loss into frozen Siberian air. The thick logs act as armor against wind, cold, and structural collapse from snow. Inside, heat from one fire sustains dozens of lives within shared, protected space together. Body heat, fire, and insulation combine to create a survivable microclimate inside frozen wilderness conditions. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, checks structural beams, ensuring stability against mounting snow pressure tonight. Above him, tons of snow accumulate, threatening collapse if structure weakens under sustained storm pressure. Ancient builders angled roofs carefully to prevent deadly accumulation and crushing structural failure risks. The entire structure works like a shield, separating life from certain frozen death outside. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, remembers winters when weaker shelters meant tragic consequences everywhere. Experience taught him survival depends entirely on preparation long before winter storms begin arriving. Tonight's storm grows stronger, pushing the longhouse closer to its survival limits than usual. Wind forces itself into every weakness, searching relentlessly for entry into the protected interior space. For leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, senses danger through subtle vibrations in wooden structure beneath. He moves slowly through darkness, inspecting every critical support, holding lives safely above frozen ground. Each beam must remain strong enough to resist crushing weight accumulating on roof above. Outside, temperatures continue falling, increasing deadly risk with every passing hour of darkness outside. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, pauses, listening carefully to storm-threatening structural integrity tonight. A deep wooden groan echoes, warning that the storm is testing structural limits tonight severely. The sound means weight above is increasing faster than normal structural tolerance allows safely. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, grips his wooden staff, understanding the serious danger approaching. He walks toward the entrance, where cold air leaks threaten precious interior warmth reserves. Even tiny openings can drain life-saving heat into the frozen Siberian darkness outside quickly. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, places his hand near leak, feeling deadly cold. Immediate action is required, or the storm will slowly consume their fragile safety inside tonight. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, moves toward insulation materials stored beside interior wall. These natural materials are essential tools developed over generations surviving Siberia's unforgiving winter environment. He kneels carefully, conserving energy while preparing to reinforce vulnerable structural weaknesses immediately tonight. Every movement must be precise, because wasted heat and energy increase survival risk dramatically tonight. The storm outside continues intensifying, increasing pressure on every protective surface surrounding the tribe. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, returns toward leak, carrying life-saving insulation materials carefully. He prepares to seal the opening before deadly cold spreads further inside, tonight completely. Carefully, he presses insulation into the crack, blocking freezing air entering the longhouse interior. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, works slowly, ensuring perfect seal against deadly intrusion tonight. Even small improvements dramatically increase interior survival chances during extreme Siberian winter conditions outside. Wind howls louder, testing whether his repair can withstand mounting external environmental pressure tonight. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, pauses, listening for signs of structural weakness nearby carefully. The structure responds with silence, proving the ancient design still protects life inside successfully. But the night is far from over, and greater dangers may still emerge unexpectedly. Suddenly, a powerful impact shakes the longhouse as massive snow shifts above the roof. The entire structure trembles, reminding everyone how fragile survival remains against Siberia's overwhelming winter. The leader, elderly, Siberian tribal elder, immediately looks upward, recognizing imminent structural danger above. Too much snow weight could collapse the roof, ending every life inside instantly tonight. Ancient design slows collapse, but even strong structures have limits under extreme environmental pressure. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, knows immediate action determines survival before catastrophic structural failure. He moves towards central support beams, the backbone holding the entire structure upright tonight. He studies the beams carefully, searching for cracks, weakness, or signs of imminent collapse. Every fiber of the wood carries the burden of protecting human life inside tonight. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, places his ear against the beam, listening carefully. Wood speaks through subtle sounds, revealing whether structure still holds against crushing weight above. Outside, relentless wind continues adding dangerous new layers of heavy snow above structure. The poor leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, closes his eyes, focusing on structural vibrations deeply. The beam holds firm, proving ancient builders understood survival better than modern assumptions today. Still, the storm continues relentlessly, forcing the structure to endure unimaginable environmental punishment tonight. Inside, the fire burns steadily, maintaining the fragile balance between life and death here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, adds more wood to strengthen vital heat production. Without fire, even perfect shelter would fail against Siberia's unforgiving, frozen environmental conditions outside. Heat spreads slowly, warming wood, air, and bodies within the protective enclosed space together. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, watches flames, understanding their absolute survival importance tonight. Outside, darkness reaches its deepest point when temperatures fall to their most dangerous levels. The longhouse stands firm, proving its design continues, protecting human life against extreme cold. Inside, warmth remains stable, showing the structure successfully resists the storm's deadly force. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, stands silently, confirming his people remain safe tonight. Generations survived because knowledge, preparation, and structure work together against impossible environmental conditions here. This shelter represents accumulated wisdom, refined through countless winters of life-threatening environmental challenges here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, rests his hand on the protective wooden wall. Outside, the storm begins weakening, its deadly grip slowly losing strength before approaching dawn. For now, the ancient structure has once again defeated Siberia's most brutal environmental threat. Inside, survivors remain alive because wood, fire, and knowledge worked together in harmony. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, watches quietly as danger slowly passes beyond walls. This night proves why giant wooden longhouses ensured human survival across Siberia for centuries. Without these structures, entire tribes would vanish into frozen wilderness without protection or hope. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, understands his responsibility preserving this survival knowledge forever. Because in Siberia, survival always belongs to those who prepare before winter arrives first. Morning approaches slowly, revealing the longhouse still standing against Siberia's relentless winter assault tonight. The structure endured another night, preserving life within its carefully engineered protective wooden walls. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, walks toward entrance, verifying external conditions cautiously now. He pauses, knowing the outside world remains dangerous, despite weakening storm conditions this morning. Cold still waits outside, ready to claim life from anyone unprotected immediately today. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, opens door slightly, releasing brief warmth outward. Outside, frozen wilderness stretches endlessly, reminding him of constant environmental danger surrounding life. He steps outside briefly, testing whether conditions allow safe survival beyond protective structure now. Even now, exposed skin would freeze quickly without shelter and protective clothing layers here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, observes the longhouse exterior with experienced, critical eyes. Every log remains in position, proving the structure resisted the storm's destructive force successfully. Ancient engineering continues outperforming nature's most hostile environmental conditions, even today here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, turns back toward entrance, mission successfully completed tonight. He re-enters the longhouse, preserving warmth essential for continued survival in Siberia's winter environment. Warmth embraces him again, proving the longhouse remains their most important survival defense. Here, fire continues burning steadily, maintaining the carefully balanced interior survival temperature through insulation. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, adds another log, ensuring heat remains constant. Every piece of wood represents precious stored energy, collected before winter's deadly arrival. Preparation made survival possible long before this storm ever reached their remote shelter. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, sits beside fire, finally allowing himself brief rest. But he knows survival requires constant vigilance because Siberia never truly becomes safe here. Outside, daylight slowly returns, revealing the vast frozen wilderness surrounding their fragile survival shelter. The storm's violence fades, but the environment remains permanently hostile to human survival here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, watches fire, reflecting on survival knowledge preserved here. Everything depends on respecting nature's power and preparing before winter arrives each year. The longhouse represents the difference between extinction and continued human existence in Siberia. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, understands future generations will depend on this knowledge. Because here, survival belongs only to those who understand and respect environmental reality. Morning wind brushes snow from roof, revealing structure still standing against relentless environmental pressure outside. Inside, embers glow quietly, preserving warmth that separates life from death in this environment. The leader breathes slowly, listening to silence that replaces the storm's overwhelming violence outside now. Structural beams remain strong, carrying weight of snow that would crush unprepared shelters instantly outside. Outside, endless forest waits, indifferent to whether humans succeed or disappear completely here forever. The Longhouse stands silent, its purpose fulfilled through knowledge passed across countless harsh generations. Survival here was never guaranteed, only earned through understanding, preparation, and respect for nature. The leader rises slowly, his joints stiff from enduring relentless cold throughout the endless winter. He looks toward entrance, knowing outside remains dangerous despite the storm's temporary retreat now. Firelight flickers across his face, revealing exhaustion and quiet confidence earned through survival experience. Beyond these walls, cold continues waiting patiently for any fatal human mistake outside forever. Inside, knowledge and preparation created a fragile barrier against overwhelming environmental hostility outside. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, understands survival depends on respecting unforgiving environmental truth always. This structure was never comfort. It was humanity's shield against extinction in frozen wilderness. Morning light reveals endless frozen forest, beautiful, yet deadly beyond fragile human protection here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, opens entrance slightly, testing the world's merciless frozen breath. Cold air immediately invades, reminding him survival always remains temporary, never permanently guaranteed here. He closes entrance again, preserving warmth created through effort, discipline, and ancestral understanding here. Fire continues burning, symbolizing fragile human resistance against overwhelming environmental dominance outside these walls. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, sits quietly, listening to wind beyond protective wooden walls. He knows survival here requires constant vigilance, knowledge, and absolute respect for environmental reality. Outside, wind carves endless patterns across snow, erasing all traces of human existence quickly. The Longhouse remains standing, silent proof of human adaptation against impossible environmental conditions here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, protects knowledge ensuring future survival beyond his lifetime. Every beam, every fire, every action determines survival or extinction in this frozen world. Cold does not forgive weakness. Only preparation and wisdom allow humans to remain alive. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, closes eyes briefly, honoring ancestors who survived here before. Because in Siberia, survival belongs only to those who understand nature's absolute authority. The wind never stops. It only pauses, waiting to test human endurance again soon. Inside, warmth exists only because effort never stopped, even during the worst storms. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, breathes slowly, conserving energy within protective shelter walls. This land demands respect, patience, and absolute understanding of environmental survival realities always. Every winter tests whether humans deserve to continue existing in this unforgiving wilderness here. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, carries knowledge more valuable than any physical resource. Because knowledge, preparation, and respect remain humanity's only protection against Siberia's absolute power. Snow continues falling, covering everything equally, without caring what lives or dies beneath. The Longhouse endures, not by strength, but through intelligent design and human discipline alone. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, remains awake, guardian of survival knowledge and responsibility. Outside waits endless cold, patient and unstoppable, shaping everything that exists here permanently. Inside remains fragile warmth, protected through knowledge earned across countless brutal winters endured. The leader, elderly Siberian tribal elder, closes his eyes, knowing they survived another winter. In Siberia, survival is never permanent. It is earned again every single winter. Far below endless sky, a single shelter proves humans can resist nature's dominance temporarily.